Jeff Colvin, a Kansas City police officer, was horrified when he entered that girl's house. He had to act. His account was that days later, the girl disappeared. After 10 years, she returned. The officer's actions were her story. This story took place when Jeff Colvin was 25. He was passionate about helping others and serving the community after graduating from the police academy. He met Kalynn Scales, a young girl. They never imagined the encounter would change their lives. Jeff patrolled Washington Wheatley, one of Kansas's poorest cities, occasionally. He often saw the worst of his beloved city there: crime, poverty, and desperation. In the midst of all that misery, he saw something that gave him hope and candor every day. He saw something through a house window every time he rolled down Indiana Avenue, the neighborhood's main street. It was a constant reminder of why he was there and his role in the world. Kalynn Scales, a 7-year-old girl, would wave at him through a window. Jeff always waved back. This sight would always remind him of his role: to protect innocent people and children like Kalynn from the neighborhood's rough stuff. Then something happened. Jeff learned that the girl stole from a corner store near the house. Hearing this worried him. If you like my videos, don't forget to like or subscribe. Thanks in advance. Was the girl struggling? Were her parents taking care of her? He realized she'd never been with adults. Another event a few days later convinced him to investigate further. He drove Indiana Avenue every day. As he approached Kalynn's house, something was wrong. Kalynn wasn't. The girl was waiting by the window every time he passed that street, which was unusual. She probably heard his car. Why wasn't she at the window this time? Was she hurt? Jeff entered her house then. He knew something was wrong because she had been caught last week and this was the first time she hadn't waved at him. Door knocked. Unanswered. He entered the open door. The house's contents were heartbreaking. Messy house. It appeared unattended. Jeff found Kalynn feeding her younger siblings in the kitchen. But she looked sick. Jeff greeted her. Kalynn greeted him but appeared scared. Jeff inquired about her parents and her well-being. Jeff understood after Kalynn replied. Kalynn's parents died. They vanished one day. Since then, Kalynn had to care for her siblings and house alone. Her neighbor helped her sometimes. Like last week, she had to take food from a local store. Jeff realized he had to help those kids. He rushed Kalynn and her siblings to the hospital. The police then adopted the kids to a Kansas family. Luckily, the family could care for all the siblings, so they didn't have to live separately. Jeff lost touch with Kalynn for years. Jeff Colvin was an officer 12 years later. Sergeant. He covered the same Kansas City areas, but with more responsibility. Kalynn had not been mentioned in years. He still wondered where the girl was. They met again. Kalynn emailed Jeff. The police academy would graduate her at 19. Kalynn and her siblings had a happy childhood with their foster parents, but she couldn't forget their troubled past and Jeff's arrival. Since she was adopted, she wanted to be a police officer and help others like Jeff had helped her and her siblings. Her story moved Jeff. She also asked the sergeant. When asked about the story, Colvin told the press, she was emphatic that when she graduated, not if, but when, that I would be the one to pin her badge on her. Indeed, months later, Jeff pinned Kalynn's officer badge on her uniform after she graduated. She made me proud. Colvin said she beat all statistical odds. Most people would write off her 7-year-old self and say she has no chance. She'll fail. She disproved everyone there. We can all learn that. Jeff couldn't believe it had been so long. He couldn't believe she had become a young woman. He wanted to catch her up. What happened? Where had she been for years? Jeff asked Klynn to meet up. She was thrilled to continue their friendship. He invited her to his station to talk. She wanted to catch up. But Jeff would receive a strange request. Klynn went to the station in her officer's uniform. She contemplated everything they could discuss. She needed a police mentor. There was more. She asked him something. She didn't know his reaction. She met Jeff at the station. In his office, they reminisced. Jeff grilled Klynn. He wanted to know her fate. When asked, she looked at her feet. Her secret. She was hesitant to tell him and had a huge request. Klynn said she struggled while raising her family. Unexpectedly becoming a caregiver has long-term effects on a minor. She matured quickly. Klynn supported her siblings for years. Focusing on her family meant giving up her chance to graduate. Klynn had just arrived. She was always exhausted from supporting her family and working a low-paying job. However, one thing sustained her. She confided in Jeff. The young cop's words shocked him. She told Jeff that Jeff was her only motivation. She wanted to repay him. She dreamed of becoming a police officer and saved all she could. After much effort, she was sitting in front of him as a law enforcement officer. Jeff was touched that she remembered him all these years. Being a police officer meant helping others and motivating the community. Her success made him proud. There was more. Klynn wasn't just there to say he inspired her. She was selfish. Klynn elaborated to Jeff. She worked at a county precinct near Jeff's after becoming an officer. He noticed her frown as she talked about it. She described her station experience. Jeff felt her pain. Klynn told Jeff that most precinct officers mistreated her. Since she was new and female, they were biased. They harassed her with names. Jeff raged. He detested police discrimination. Klynn surprised him with a selfish question. Klynn admitted she wasn't there to catch up. She had to change precincts. She knew Jeff was a sergeant with authority. Jeff didn't know what she was going to say, but he wasn't ready. She wanted him to act rashly. She told Jeff she wanted to stop being the rookie girl cop at her precinct. She summoned the courage to request a favor. She asked Jeff to move her to a different precinct to escape the harassment. The favor continued. Her favor was more specific. She wanted a new, unbearable precinct. She requested transfer to Jeff's precinct. He was surprised but happy to help. He called her to see what he could do. She answered a few days later. Jeff called Klynn with good news after what seemed like forever. She would work for him by the end of the week after her transfer was approved. Klynn couldn't believe he had helped her again. She was grateful for more. Klynn proved herself a capable officer who took her training seriously over the next few months. Her co-workers and Jeff liked her. Klynn needed closure, and Jeff made his precinct feel like family. She will always strive to be like him. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again in the next video.